Hi guys, welcome back to Red Flag Radio F1 YouTube channel. We are here to talk about Spanish Grand Prix. After a drama-free 55 laps that looked set to be a McLaren masterclass on cruise control, the final 11 laps of the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix turned into pure, unfiltered F1 chaos. Safety car, tyre gambles, overtakes, penalties, contact, boiling tempers, you name it. It happened. And this is not just a race review at this point. This is a breakdown of everything that exploded in Barcelona. So grab your coffee, fuel up with some snacks, and let's dive into the roller coaster of a race. And let's start with McLaren, your favorite team, the dominators, man.
Yeah, dude, see, okay, in the past video I even said that I'm gonna favor Max for the win, and it did look, up till a certain point of the race, it did look like Max had something to say about the McLarens locking out another 1-2, and in the beginning stages of the race, Max even overtook Lando, and it looked like a typical Lando start where he bottles it and then leave, and then probably Oscar gets hung out to dry. But yeah, and even after the safety car, it looked like maybe Max would have a chance until we'll get to Max later. But easy 1-2 for McLaren. I think it's a great weekend as a McLaren fan for me, but it's a little bit weird that Oscar continues his streak of walking up to Lando and saying "fuck your championship."
Yeah, man. Oscar Piastri was just calm as ice and blistering as fire. He led from the front. He out-qualified everyone by stunning 0.2 seconds. And, this is something that we haven't seen till now.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing qualifying performance. And even in the race, he was just bulletproof. Yes, there were moments when we thought that Max Verstappen may catch him. But really, that was an ambitious try from Max side because they didn't had any pace. But this just shows that McLaren is on another level, and Oscar Piastri is just trying to, show that performance. And that's how you keep the championship lead. When we thought that maybe there's that, momentum shift from Lando's side after he won the Monaco Grand Prix, that maybe he can take the lead. But Oscar, like you said, Oscar Piastri came back and said, "Fuck you, championship," and that's how we are seeing it at the moment.
The only good thing as a McLaren fan is that Lando did manage to overtake Max later on in the race after the first few laps. So it wasn't as depressing as it could have been, at least on the other side of the McLaren camp. But
yeah,
I guess as a team, they are pretty much untouchable, right? And we already have been seeing this, but then I guess this race just proves that the regulation change has not done much to McLaren at all. Like, they're still looking as strong as ever, and I think they might just continue to dominate this season, at least as a constructors, even if we end up getting some sort of a battle between the drivers themselves.
True, man. And that's the part which I was about to bring. We know Lando Norris has been consistent. He's not winning that many races, but he has been consistent because he has been in top 4 in almost every single race, and he got P2 in this race. So he's doing that damage limitation if he can't win the race, so that's good. And if there's any mistake that happens at Oscar Piastri's end, probably he can capitalize on that. But we are still waiting for that epic Piastri versus Norris battle for the win. We did kind of saw in Imola where they did fight, but there was that tire advantage and they were not fighting for the win. But the kind of scrap that could spark a true modern rivalry is the fight for that win. And if both drivers have the same car, then probably you want to see that happening very soon, because I feel Max Verstappen is losing that grip from the championship fight after a disastrous weekend. So if we are planning to see Piastri versus Norris, then we need those wheel-to-wheel battles, man. And think of Hamilton versus Rosberg and the tension which we saw during those years. Yes, they were like true friends when they started, and by 2016 we could see the tension boiling. And this is the scene right now for Piastri versus Norris as well. There's that respect, that friendship is there. But one wheel-to-wheel battle and something goes wrong, you can imagine the scenes, what can happen, right?
Yeah, I think Max and Russell gave us a good demo of what happens when you go wheel to wheel in this race, and we must therefore get back to Verstappen because, as you mentioned, he's already losing his grip on the Drivers' Championship, and I think he's losing a grip on his sanity as well, because what the fuck was that? He drops it just before the restart coming out of the last corner. He gets shafted by Charles Leclerc because he fucks it up. And then once Charles passes him, he makes contact with him. Once the snake passes him, he tries to crush the snake as well. And I think he had it coming, right?
Yeah, I don't know what I can say. Let's just start from the start. They opted for a 3-stop strategy.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a very good strategy from my side. I will say that because it was an ambitious try and something outside of the box, because McLaren was in a league of their own. So I felt like that 3-stop strategy, that reminded me of 2013 Alonso's victory, and something they might be going with that. But yeah, that safety car timing was horrible. Whether they could have avoided that pit stop and stayed on softs, that's a different story. But if they had only hards, and none of the drivers tried those hard tires in the whole race, that's a big gamble you are going with, man. Everyone was saying those tires are garbage. That's the reason why no one tried. And just for like 11 laps, and let's just say for 6 racing laps, because 5 laps we were just behind safety car enjoying and cruising, like how Hamilton said they like to waste those laps. But for 6 laps, hard tires.
What is this tire?
That's the hard tyre, Max.
Why are we on the hard?
That was the only option.
That made no sense. And we usually applaud Red Bull for the strategy calls, but this was not the right call by any means. And from the start, we saw that he had no grip. I mean, that control he tried to show. And obviously, after trying to control that car at the restart, Leclerc knew that that's the opportunity he needed, and he just went with it. And yeah, there was that wheel-to-wheel battle there as well, and they kissed, they turned, whatever you want to call it. But Max Verstappen was not happy even after that moment. And then when Russell gets that sniffing opportunity, he just takes it, man. Like, your favorite driver is always there. And when it comes to Max Verstappen, George Russell knows he won't back out, and that's what happened. And after that moment, it was just meltdown, man. I don't know, man. That contact with Russell, it felt like a clumsy move, maybe frustration. Too many things happened, and that's not how I see as a 4-time world champion. I feel that's unacceptable. You have been in that mode where you are leading the championship, you are in a league of your own, and I feel like this is the first time that he's feeling that pressure that maybe he will lose the championship. And that's not the right response, I feel.
Yeah, and I think all of that frustration stems from, as you mentioned, the tires changed to hards, and then even his radio, right? He was himself confused. Like, oh, what the fuck is this all about? Might as well put me on hitters at this point. But yeah, it is pretty unfortunate. I think from that moment, that leads to him dropping it in the final corner just after the restart. That leads to Charles passing him, and the frustration keeps on stacking. And then, of course, his best friend comes by in the Silver Arrow, and yeah, I don't think there was ever any other outcome there except for a double DNF. I think this was pretty much the best case scenario for them. And as I am not a huge fan of Russell, as you know, but I think he put it very well when he said that he just cost himself and his team a bunch of points by being frustrated. Fair and square.
Absolutely. Man. Absolutely. And that's the reason why Red Bull tumbled to P4 in the Constructors title now. Yeah. And talking about Max title, so let's just say bleeding at the moment, because that's not what he wanted. And adding more salt, he's now 11 out of 12 penalty points, and that just means one more penalty point and he will get a race ban, and that means another 25 points gone.
Yeah,
because we know his 2 points will be removed by, I think, late June, which means that there are still 2 more races, and that means he has to keep his nose clean for those 2 races. So that's just more frustration, more, I don't know, man. We haven't seen this happening in Formula 1 since Kevin Magnussen's penalty, and seeing that happen to Max Verstappen, it will be a surprising thing. And I don't know how Red Bull will be able to handle that, considering we already know how that second driver's seat works for them. Yuki Tsunoda is struggling. He started from P20 and no points for him as well. So I don't know how they will manage that if something like that happens in the next 2 races.
Yeah, but we can finally move on to a team that did do well, that has gained a lot of ground in the Constructors' Championship. We are seeing a Ferrari again on a proper podium, on a proper Sunday podium. Great opportunity seized by Charles Leclerc. I think we can't give Ferrari's the car all the credit for that, because it did require someone else fucking up for him to get on podium, and we've said this on this channel time and again that you cannot depend on someone else fucking up for your own podium or win. And
True.
But then credit where credit is due. Whenever the opportunity does present itself, Leclerc has seized it, and it's great to see him on the podium.
And I feel he created that opportunity for him, because on a Saturday we saw he just went out on a one lap and he decided to save those tires.
Yeah.
That was the brilliant move, let's keep it that way, because he got that tire advantage which he needed.
Yeah.
And that just maybe allowed him to be on that podium. So whether that was the call from Ferrari or Charles Leclerc, either way that worked for them. And maybe fortune favored him more in this race. So I feel that was a brilliant move, and obviously he got the podium. So that's the best possible scenario for Charles Leclerc, because let's be honest, he couldn't overtake McLaren because they were in a different league. So I feel that's the best scenario they had, and now they are in P2. They are P2 in Constructors Championship.
Yeah.
So considering the backlash they got, all the trolls, all the radio drama, all the silent treatments for Lewis Hamilton, which we will talk about Hamilton as well, Ferrari is still delivering where it counts now, right? Because P2 is, I think, probably the maximum they can achieve, and if they can stay there, I think it's a kind of a successful year.
Yeah, we don't.
Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, we give them a lot of shit because they, most of the time, they deserve all that shit. But if you think about it in hindsight, every race Hamilton and Leclerc were consistently doing something to bring double points, which is not the case consistently, mind you. That's the key word for Mercedes or Red Bull. For them, basically, one driver was performing. And Antonelli had a great start, but the past 3 races have not been anything to write home about for him. So,
for the bad reasons we can say,
exactly.
But not for the good
But
reasons.
if you do the math there, then it's very obvious that Ferrari has been quietly putting up a show, even if they don't necessarily get podiums as often. So I think it has amounted over time for them to be P2 in the Constructors, and I think that's only fair. For once, there will be no memes about them in the middle of the season.
True, man. But from Lewis' side, he was not happy considering he lost P5 at final lap, and visually we saw he was in tears as well post race. So it was a frustrating day, and he just doesn't have any answers to that, and he can't extract more performance, and it must be frustrating for him considering seeing Sauber overtake in last 2 laps. We will talk about Sauber next, but I don't know, man. From one side, Charles Leclerc is delivering, and from the other, Lewis Hamilton will be frustrated. And I don't know what's next for him as well, but P6 is definitely not the position he wanted as well, considering he started ahead of Leclerc.
Exactly, that's very fair. That's a very strong point you make. That I think what adds insult to injury for Lewis is that not only is he not being able to drive the car as well as his teammate, who is straight up sitting on podiums, but in the very same race, a fucking Sauber overtakes you. Do you think you're not being able to fight Nico huge cock Hulkenberg? That's just... I mean, Nico has had to have the biggest penis on the paddock, right? Because overtaking a 7-time world champion in a Ferrari in your fucking green shit box is just amazing. It's so free entertainment.
True, man. And forget what F1 told you, that Max Verstappen was the driver of the day.
Oh yeah.
Fuck that, man.
Yeah.
It was, that honor belongs to Nico Hulkenberg. I mean, he started behind his teammate, and he finished P5, well, P6 on track, but he just outperformed everyone's expectations. And yes, Kick Sauber did bring some upgrades, but we never expected that to happen. Yes, in a joking way, I did say that probably we can see Hulkenberg on podium, but But not even in my wildest dream, I predicted that he will be P5. And this wasn't just luck. This was performance plus strategy plus aggression as well at start. So, amazing performance, and I feel Hulk extracted every last drop of performance from that car. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, massive props to him, and massive props to Sauber as well for making all of these things work. And I'm so happy we get to talk about it, backmarker team, in such high regard, man. It's not
True,
every day
man.
we will get to see this. I mean, yeah, they did bring upgrades, but as you said, we are expecting those upgrades to mean, fine, I'm not finishing dead last, I'm finishing 17th. We didn't expect them to shove a giant rocket up the Sauber's ass and start fighting for the big points. But amazing stuff from them, I guess.
True, man. Even Bortolotto had a decent performance. Obviously, he didn't get any points, but he was fighting. And that's the, a rare sight which we haven't seen so far in this season. And like you said, it's an amazing thing that we are covering them this early, considering, we move to the final part and just say we don't know what to say about Sauber. So this was a welcome change. And this was the Sauber's first point since Australia. And probably their best finish in, 2-3 years. I can't think of any better finish right now.
Yeah.
So amazing performance, and let's just say that maybe it was just Hulk mode activated at that race. So props to them, and now they're not dead last in the championship. So that's the minimum requirement that they wanted to fulfill, and they have achieved that for now. So that's amazing.
But who is dead last now? It's Alpine. Even though Gasly scored points after a couple of horrible races, he managed to score points. And again, he is the driver for Alpine who is doing that consistently. I'm playing fast and loose with the word consistently, but the point is he's the only driver for Alpine bringing in any points. But still they're dead last, because I'm very sad to say this, but I had thought Colapinto would start doing better by his third race, and it's just been a horrible weekend for him yet again.
Yeah, man. Pierre Gasly grabbed 4 points. Not bad, but yeah, as you said, Alpine is now P10 in Constructors Championship, and that's a free fall. There are no words right now that imagine telling a team who is not performing that well that yes, you got the 4 points, but now you are dead last. So that just shows that you got the opportunity, but still there's nothing to show at the moment, and that must be so frustrating for Alpine, because in a way it was a good weekend.
Yeah.
It's better than getting 0 points, but it's like you said, it's coming from one side only, and that's Gasly's side, because Colapinto hasn't delivered anything substantial yet. And with 3 races gone and just 2 more to go for his trial, pressure must be mounting on his head. Colapinto will be feeling that pressure again, and then what will Alpine do, man? If they decide to, say that no points for Colapinto if that happens in the next 2 races.
Do we finally get to see Kushmaini in F1?
As an Indian fan, I would love to see that happen, but I don't know whether that can happen, because Kushmaini is still trying to find that grip in F2 cars. So I don't think he will get that push straight away.
Yeah, but then what's the point of having 1400 reserve drivers if you're not going to keep swapping them every 5 races, right? So I think he deserves a chance. Maybe he's not been that comfortable in the F2 seat, but maybe that's because he's like some Einstein character who can't do good high school math, but he'll be great at fucking particle physics. So maybe in F1 he does well. Of course, as Indian fans, we're biased. But yeah, man, that could be something.
Yeah, considering they are not getting points from Jack Doohan or Colapinto, maybe, let's give it a try. Maybe, who knows, something can happen, and maybe he can create that impression. We are rooting for Kush, and hopefully we will see him in F1 soon. But yeah, the pressure must be mounting on their heads right now.
Absolutely. And it's because suddenly out of nowhere we're also realizing Racing Bulls is doing decently, because Isaac Hajar has been scoring points every race, even if there's some minor points, 2 points, 4 points maximum, something like that, but then he's still finding a way to get points. And I think him working with Lawson, like they also did a great demonstration of teamwork in Monaco to get points. I think at one way or another, Racing Bulls is finding a way to get one or both drivers to get minor points, and it's just been stacking up, and now they have managed to be the final nail in the coffin for Alpine, I guess.
True, man. And you know what? Hajar is scoring more than Red Bull drivers in total, considering the last few races. So props to him, man. He's delivering consistently and points again. And he made some strong overtakes as well. So it's not just that, he was at right place at right time. He did show that great racecraft from his side. And he's the top scorer right now for Racing Bull. So amazing part, considering Yuki is not doing that well. Verstappen finished P10, and let's not talk about Lawson just yet, but if anyone's is safe at Racing Bull or Red Bull, I feel it's Hajar at the moment, because I feel he's the rookie driver of the season so far. Maybe I thought Antonelli was the one, but he's not getting that luck from last 3 races. So whatever Hajar decided to do after that, first race, sad moment, and maybe he got some inspirational words from Anthony Hamilton and Lewis Hamilton, but he came back strong, man. And this performance on a regular basis, it's an amazing sight to behold.
Exactly, and I think after the first few races, we expected Antonelli to be the rookie of the year, because he looked like he was doing very well in that second seat, consistently bringing in a good, decent chunk of points. But yeah, as you said, it's that part of the video where I put the engine go bang bang.
Yeah, man. Mercedes, I just don't know what is going wrong for them, considering, there were years when Mercedes was the team where, everything was bulletproof. Like, they used to be the poster child of reliability, but not anymore. This is hurting them badly in the Constructors title as well, because now they are P3, and, maybe they will be overtaken by Red Bull as well at some point of time. So whatever start they had, right now they are just falling apart. And yes, George Russell backed P4, so solid 12 points, but Antonelli's reliability, or I should say Mercedes reliability, it's unbelievable, man. And that's happening from past 3 races now. In Imola, his engine blew up. In Monaco, Russell's engine blew up during the qualifying, and now in the race for Antonelli again. So that's just 3 straight weekends with, mechanical failures, and I don't think that's acceptable for Mercedes.
Exactly. I think between performance and reliability, I think Mercedes stacked too many chips on the performance side, and now they're starting to see the cracks. And if this keeps on continuing, they'll soon run out of new engines and new gearboxes and other components as well, and they'll start taking grid penalties. And then how much do we expect them to fight if they have to start, I don't know, from the pit lane or take a 10-place grid penalty or something? So it becomes a snowball effect at this point, because if they don't get their reliability together, then it's going to start showing up in 4 or 5 races that they're taking grid penalties for taking new parts.
Yeah, man, and that would be so frustrating, considering they have already lost so many points right now, and starting from behind, it won't be easy, and it won't help them in any means. So that there's that risk, and probably that reliability is something that will come for 2026 as well, considering there are some major changes coming. And if this is the reliability that they have for 2025, probably yes, we know 2026 a big overhaul of changes, but there can be some reliability parts that can be used for 2026 as well. So they need to sort it out, or else, as you said, they will have some engine penalties, and probably from fighting Max Verstappen, they will be fighting Liam Lawson, because Liam Lawson is just fighting everyone at this point, right? I mean, he had incidents with Alonso at start, he had incidents with Albon. Yes, Albon part, probably it was Albon's mistake, I according to me. And then he fought with Beerman, he came in between the the front runners as well. So he's aggressive, sure, but he's not converting it into any points. Yes, he did got some points in Monaco, but I don't know, man, what's going wrong for Lawson now.
Yeah, but
we are saying this regularly.
Exactly, fair enough. But I think he's just in this one race, he has done more for Max Verstappen and Red Bull than he did as a Red Bull driver. Because him holding Lando up accidentally or on purpose, we can debate about that forever. But yeah, him holding up Lando while he was in blue flag conditions allowed Max to catch up by 8 tenths or something like that within half a lap. And that
Right.
was just an extra headache that Lando did not need in that race after already having that battle with Max at the beginning. So, I mean, maybe he was just trying to help out Max there, but
Yeah.
speaking of Alonso, though, you mentioned his battle with Alonso, he is finally in the points.
I used to pray for times like these, man. Finally points on the board. Well, and it's not 1 point, it's 2 to be exact. So it has been a brutal start, but his drive in Spain showed the whole fire is still burning. So I'm happy, 2 points, and finally Lance Stroll can probably rest considering Alonso is back with some points, and those are some well-deserved points. And I said it that this will be the race where he will get those points. So I'm happy that my biased predictions outside of the box did come out well for this race. So yeah, 2 points on board. Again, they won't be happy overall because now they are 9th in the Constructors Championship, which is also unacceptable for Aston Martin. But maybe this is the start of something, that will happen great that will bring probably more greatness or better points for the team, because next is Canadian Grand Prix. But the question is whether the Canadian will be there or not to drive in that car. What do you think?
So, fine, let's start by talking about the window licker himself. He apparently jerked off too hard in the cockpit and he sprained his wrist or some shit like that. So, the whiny little bitch can't participate. I mean, Carlos Sainz was getting his appendix removed and then racing the next weekend and then winning. But fine, this bitch can't shake off a little jerk off sprain. But moving
Well,
on.
you need hands more than appendix, Lithium.
Okay, fair enough. That's a good point.
I mean, he did come back in Bahrain and got P6, which was a big result at that time for Lance Stroll's standard. But yeah, you made a valid point in that way.
Yeah, but then anything that Lance does that does not involve his car ending up in a fiery pit of ash means that he has done good by Lance Stroll standards. Every race that he doesn't kill 3 drivers, he has done better than his own standards. But I am glad to finally be on the receiving end of this news that finally Alonso has scored some points. It is a great thing, and what better time could it come at than his own home race. So I think we can hope that we see them fight more for the midfield, because it just looks like if no one challenges Williams, they will continue to rock the mid-table championship. This weekend, neither of their drivers scored any points, and other teams did score points. Hadjar scored points, Gasly scored points, Aston Martin scored points. So all the other teams did score points, and Williams didn't score anything, but they're still so cushy and comfortable in P5, right, in the Constructors. I think it's a little bit tragic for Albon because he did have a DNF, but yeah, do you think that the Williams would have scored any points anyway, even if he did not have a DNF? I don't think so. I think that other teams' upgrades are definitely propelling them forward, and Williams is not.
Right, Matt. I mean, front wing issues for both the drivers. Both were, forced to pit and get a new front wing, and by the end I think Albon had no single front wing available for him. That's the reason why he had to DNF, and he was involved in that fight with Lawson, but I felt that was his mistake, as I said previously. So it was a tough race for Williams. Yes, they said that this track might be tough for them, but I was not expecting it to be this tough. And Sainz, who has been, in points consistently on this track, this was not where I expected him to, fall apart and get no points. And he even, was out in Q1, which was a big surprise for me at that moment. Yeah. But when I saw their performance in race, there was no performance, and everyone was able to overtake him and was able to fight Albon as well. So in a way, this was a reality check. Yes, they have done brilliantly this season, but maybe Spain exposed their limitations as well. Like if they decided to go with the approach that they don't want any upgrades and focus on 2026, maybe just don't go too soon on that. And if every team is going to bring some upgrades, probably it can be that rocky 2025 year. But I feel this was just one-off race, and probably we may see a better performance from their end in Canada.
Be that as it may, I think Williams still, as you said, at least for 3-4 more races they have enough buffer, because even
Right.
if one driver scores some 2 points or 4 points or 1 point for other teams, it's not enough to leapfrog them in the championship by any stretch of the imagination. But one team that is definitely not going to be doing that is Haas, because they again every alternate weekends we say, oh, amazing overtakes from Behrman, or a great race finish from Esteban Ocon, and then the very next weekend we'll go on to say, fuck all race for Haas, they didn't do shit.
Yeah, man.
I mean, second last, and that too because 3 drivers finished DNF'd behind them. Otherwise, what, they would be 19th and 20th. They're only
Yeah,
16th and 17th because there were those many cars, and therefore that's horrible.
True, man. No pace, no hope. And considering Ocon is their, points machine who is just fighting in top 10 regularly, even with the car, that is not capable of being in points. This just showed that probably there were no miracles planned for this race, considering they got leapfrogged by everyone in this race. Sauber, Alpine, Aston, you name it. So they need a reset straight away, and if every team continues to perform like this, I feel Haas will be P10 very soon.
Yeah.
If that's the story they will go with. But probably, as you mentioned, that probably next weekend they will come back stronger and will get some points.
Yeah, so I think for the rest of the season we might perhaps see who, sort of the losers championship competition between Alpine and Haas, perhaps, who can do the worst. Because I mean, we should not be discounting Sauber completely out of that dog shit championship, because this was just one race where they got a haul of points from one of the drivers. But still, I think, yeah, those 3 teams are fighting for the losers championship.
Aston is also there, don't worry. Because Aston is now with one driver at the moment, and I just don't know what will happen in Canada, considering Felipe Dragovic and Stoffel Van Dorn, who are, their reserve drivers, will be occupied with Le Mans, and Jack Crawford doesn't have the enough points to be in a F1 seat. So if there's that case where Stroll decides to, can't drive with that hand, maybe they will decide to put one of those drivers to come and race in Canada instead of Le Mans. But if that is something that cannot happen, can we bring back Sebastian Vettel and see what Vettel and Alonso together? If there's that 1% hope, then I guess Delulu is the only Solulu, right?
Yeah, man, I think that would be your wet dream probably, but but I doubt it's going to happen, because ultimately I think Stroll will be put back in the seat to show his talents, or the lack thereof, on the grid.
Yeah, considering it's his home Grand Prix, I probably think he will be back for that race. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it from Spanish Grand Prix, because we have so many storylines to talk about, so much tension building up, and this wasn't just a race. This was probably the turning point of the whole championship, considering we know that McLaren dominance is real, Red Bull are imploding, Ferrari are quietly climbing, but Mercedes are battling gremlins at this point. So considering Sauber surprised us today, what else is planned for Canada?
Until then, we just hope, all jokes apart, we hope for a very speedy recovery from Lance Stroll. I genuinely mean that from the bottom of my heart, because who else would I take a dump on? Other drivers have this thing called talent, but I hope to see him at his home race. And until then, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Goodbye.